Hello guys and welcome to Daddy Share Space. So I got off work and I decided to jump in the shop and get some woodworking practice in. So as you can see here, this is part of my routine when I want to do a project. I'm decided that I want to work in this back area, so I have to move my MFT around and pull out the tools that I plan on using in this session of practice. So as you can see, I've got my jointer, my planer, my DeWalt table saw, of which I have a ripping blade in it, and then I'm bringing out my rigid shop vac as well. Every time I want to do a project, depending upon what it is, whether it's a project or maybe an unboxing, I have to do a lot of this musical chair work in order to get things done. So right here, I'm using the table saw to go ahead and rip down this 2x4. As I've spoken about it in another video, that I wanted to try to turn a basic 2x4 into a panel. And so that's the goal of what I'm trying to do here. So I'm cutting it down one end and I'm flipping it over and cutting it down the other end so that I come out with two halves. Now, I don't know if many of you use Flex tools, but Flex is supposed to be coming out with a 10-inch table saw, of which you can cut a 4x4 in one pass, and it's allegedly battery powered and it has an AC adapter. Now we've heard that promise before from DeWalt, which it never came to fruition. So, and I've never owned a Flex tool, but I would be definitely interested in upgrading one of my table saws to that particular table saw. But as I said, I'm not familiar with the brand, so I don't know if it would be worth it. The benefits are the fact that you could convert the table to AC power, which would help get you away from the batteries when you needed longer cut times. But also the fact that the battery powered is convenient, but being able to cut a full 2x4 in one pass, as I had to do here with two passes, is advantageous, at least to me. So it's something I'm considering. I think that saw's around $700 something, but for whatever reason, the 8.5 inches come out. Or I think it's either 8.5 or 8.25, but the 10-inch is not out yet. I know Hitachi or Metabo, whatever that company is, they have one, and I looked at that a long time ago. But now that the Flex is out and it's got some pretty cool features, that may be something that I may look into upgrading. Not sure which table saw I would get rid of if I did that, but because I can't obviously have all of them. But I do think that having the Flex 10-inch and then complementing it with the Festool kind of like trim saw would be a nice little combination. Who knows, maybe I would get rid of both the DeWalt and the Milwaukee at that point. But because I'm not a big fan of the Milwaukee batteries. One of my 12 amp hour batteries is already dead. It doesn't charge anymore, and it's hard for me to buy batteries like that because it's like $250 a pop. And I'd much rather, buy a tool and get, batteries for free. That's how I got those two 12 amp hour batteries. And I know that Milwaukee's come out with the new, I think it's called Forge batteries. So who knows? Maybe, I'll break down and get those or whatever. But we'll have to see. I think that Flex table saw kind of checks a bunch of different boxes, especially if I got 3 12 amp hour batteries, that would be the price of the Flex table saw by itself. And if I got the AC adapter, then maybe for these cutting sessions I wouldn't even have to do the battery power. Now of course I would have that issue with the one outlet, but the idea of being able to do both is pretty intriguing to me. So I've jointed the boards and now I'm cutting them to a narrower width. I don't really have any kind of plans for this particular panel. I just wanted to see if I can do it and kind of get a feel for the steps involved. So I'm getting them to to the same width, and then after I do that, we'll look at trying to cut them to a similar length, and then move on to trying to assemble it into one single panel. As you can see here, this is kind of how I work in my shop. I whenever I can, I try to use as many of my tools as I can, because I'm, in my mind, I'm comparing one tool against the other. As you can see, I used earlier in the video the Capex 120, but I just used it to cut off an end of a board. This piece of 2x4 was a piece of scrap. And it had like a screw, a broken off screw in the end. So I used the Capex 120 to cut that off. And then now I'm using the Capex with the actual fences to cut it to a specific length. Nothing specific, because I'm not basically I'm cutting them all to the same length. It's not a specific length, because right now I'm just going through the muscle actions of doing this process, and then once I become more comfortable with it, then I can use this format to build out all kinds of different things. One of the things that I might do is take an old 2x4, mill it up like you see me doing here, and then make a panel, and then start making more French cleat holders. That way I can get rid of some of this lumber that I have in the shop, and also pick up some hours of experience by doing this. But as you can see here, I'm cleaning in between. I need to come up with a better solution for dust collection for that joint, that planer, rather, that DeWalt planer. Just I don't know what the better idea would be, to buy a Shelix head and put it in there, or to buy the Rikon. I'm not 100% sure. I'm back and forth, but for right now, I'm just going to work with what I have. Obviously, I have more than probably a lot of people, so I don't really have anything to complain about. My mind's always basically trying to think of ways to improve things and do better, and that often gets me caught up in not getting anything done, because I feel like I can't start something until everything is right in my head. But today, like I said, I just decided to jump out here and throw these pieces of wood together and mill it up and see what it's like. As you can see here, I'm lining up the boards just to make a very small panel, and I decided I was going to go ahead and use my Mafel to connect them, because I'm not even sure where my glue bottle is. I've moved things around so much, I don't even know where the glue bottle is, and I wanted this project to be kind of semi-finished today, so the dowels will actually hold it together nice and snug. So this gives me some more experience with my Mafel dual doweler, but then also it will hold the panel together without glue. This is not meant to be a permanent thing. It's just more of a woodworking exercise for me to see if what I see in my head is actually what will be the end product. Because as I said, I've thought about doing this with the 2x4 for quite some time. Now, when I was cutting the board to length, I had to cut out different sections where there were knots, so that, because obviously it's not going to be usable material. But I think if I use my due diligence, cut around the knots, I think this process may work out pretty well. I'm liking the way that the end product came out. And yeah, so I'm encouraged. I'll be doing it again. And before I decided to make a panel, I was actually going to try to make a little, kind of like a little tray to put a sustainer in. But I think I'm going to use this method. So the next time I do this, I may do one tomorrow where I'll make it a little bit bigger, so that it'll be big enough to be able to where I can set a sustainer on it and then trace the outline of the sustainer for it to be a base. And then I'll make a small lip around it to hold it in there, and then I can come back and make a box around this tray to start making the sysport. And what I would need to do, as I was speaking before about the type of sysport I'm thinking about, is something where all the sustainers actually have their own box that can be moved around modularly, like one can be stacked on top of another, but they would all have an individual drawer that would come out, and it would be a full length drawer slide, so where I can actually open the sustainer. Now I would have to figure out a way, a nice method to be able to like basically I guess bolt all of the boxes together so that they won't go tumbling down when I go pull one out. It's either that or I'll have to make some kind of a lip to where they actually sit down in one another. I drew out a little design, but it's still not fully complete in my head. But I think I'll do a little bit better by actually trying to build it and finding all the flaws in an actual build, as opposed to just continuing to try to think it out in my head or draw it on a piece of paper. So you see multiple sessions of cleaning up just for a small little panel. So in this project and in this little scenario, I was thinking that for sanding of a panel, I would like to get I think I see the benefit of having a boom arm, because using the actual hose when you're going to sand, it feels like it's in the way. And you'll see me, I start off using the hose, but then I eventually switch over to using the bag, because I was just kind of comparing. I don't really like, with the hose hanging off and me having to kind of drag it over. So I see the benefit of the boom arm in that capacity. I wanted to get one in the past, and who knows, maybe I'll visit that idea. But for right now, I think I just, since this is just a really small project, I just decided to switch over and use the bag, which felt a lot better as far as the sanding. Now, obviously, if you have a corded sander, because I'm using a cordless one here, that may all be different or negligible, because you're still going to have the cord coming off. But this whole method, like say if you have the boom arm and you have the cord that comes with it, this is where I feel like, Festool kind of missed the mark with the TSV and TS60. Okay, here's the panel. I'll get back to that point in another video. But right here, this is, what do you think? I mean, I'm pretty proud of it. So I'm going to make some more panels like this and start building projects out of it. 2x4s are a very cheap form of lumber, so I think it'll work out great. All right, guys, thanks for taking time to watch the video. See you in my next one.